Hey guys, welcome to Survival Vietnamese, where we talk about Vietnamese language, Vietnamese culture, and everything Vietnamese. Today we have a special guest, my really good friend. I can't believe you're here right now, Kenneth. So Kenneth is the host of the Vietnamese Podcast. Such an honor, man, to have you here with us today. Thank you for being here.
Likewise, thank you for having me. I always wanted to be here in Vietnam, to be with you, to do something like this. So this is a dream come true.
It's great. I just seeing you step out of the car, I was like, I can't believe I'm meeting Kenneth in Vietnam right now, because we've been talking about Vietnam for, just hours and hours and hours while back in California, right? And it's great to have Ken, because Ken is one of those few people that I can just talk to for days about any topic, so we're going to have to try our best to keep it to an hour maybe here, but man, it's so great, man.
Thank you so much, Chris. I appreciate you.
So the thing is, like, I know the amazing work that you do with the Vietnamese podcast, and like I always tell people, like, if you want to meet somebody who is like really in touch with what's going on with the Vietnamese community, has their finger on the pulse of like, what's happening with who's who in the Vietnamese diaspora, you got to talk to Kenneth, because you have literally pretty much talked to everyone that's anyone in the Vietnamese community. But I still don't know the origin of the Vietnamese podcast. So could you tell us, like, how did that journey begin?
Of course. I went to your rival school, USC.
Right.
And when I graduated, I got into the film business on the literary agency side, and I wanted to become a producer, right? And I wanted to be in the film industry. So I made friends with all of these Vietnamese American film directors, producers, writers, that they were a little bit older than me, 2-3 years older than me. The Bui brothers were like 4 or 5 years older. Stefan, Qua, all these guys were like older than me. And I became really close to their journeys of making movies. And I always thought to myself, one day, because I was really young, I was like 25, 27. I said, one day I'm going to be the biographer of all the Vietnamese creative in the film industry. I will be the one who can write their life story, because I was like literally partying with them. I would go run film canisters down to Orange County to Paris by Night for them. I was doing all these things that were there's a movie where there's a young journalist. He follows these rock bands around. I forget the name of it. It's a huge movie. Oh my God.
I'm blanking out.
Yeah, I'm blanking out right now. We're both blanking out right now. I could see the poster, but it's basically this young kid who's a journalist, and then he flies around with all these rock bands, and he's like, writes their biographies. I always thought that I was going to be that guy. And that was before the internet really was like blowing up, and there was no real podcast or anything. Fast forward to the pandemic, 5 years before the pandemic, all these podcasts were going off, and I was like, I could do this, I could do it. But I was so afraid of this stuff, technology, editing, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Then the pandemic happened. And I was like, wait, these high school kids are recording on Zoom. Like, I could just do that for now.
Yeah.
So then at the end of 2020, I asked like 20, 30 of my friends to hop on a podcast with me. And I wasn't going to release it until I was sure that I get the flow of it. So I recorded like 20 and then banked it. And then at the beginning of the year of 2021, I started releasing 10 first. And then I broke my leg January 19th, 2021.
Oh, wow.
And I was in bed for 12 weeks. And I knew at that point that I'll be probably doing this for life.
Oh, I see.
Because during that 12 weeks, I just started to reach out to everybody and go, look, there's 20 episodes on YouTube now.
Yeah.
And it was in the, like, when you think about it, that was like in the early days, 5 years ago, it was like,
Yeah. Well, I mean, honestly, I, for some reason, thought it was way longer than that, just because of the sheer number of people you've already interviewed. I'm just like, man, Ken must have been doing this for like a decade.
Right.
But now I'm learning that it's been since 2021.
Right.
Right. That's when it really, really took off.
Yeah.
Wow. Okay.
But the reason you feel that way is because I think the reason people feel that way is because everybody I talk to is like, it's just 20-year relationship, 25-year relationship. that the guests have been on.
Mm-hmm.
All these people I've known for like 2 decades. So it feels old.
Right.
And the thought of doing the podcast came to me 5 to 7 years before I actually hit record the first episode.
Yeah.
So it was like, really, I was like, God, I have to be that.
Mm-hmm.
I have to be that person. That person. I have to be that person.
Yeah. And then since
Almost Famous is the movie.
Almost Famous. Okay. Yeah. Now I know what you're talking about. Yeah.
Is the movie came to me.
Nice. Okay. Yeah. We got spared people in the comments.
Almost Famous.
But man, so just the way you said it, like you wanted to be that biographer.
Yeah.
And then since you say that, I realize now, wow, you did create this massive archive now of all the stories.
Right.
Like, of all the Vietnamese folks in the diaspora, and like, people doing amazing things, and like with their own words telling their own stories. Like, what an amazing archive at this point.
I want to do it for the Vietnamese here in Vietnam too. Like, I want to do that. I want to one day move here. I want to be able, because I speak Vietnamese, you speak Vietnamese. I want to be able to like interview Vietnamese people.
Right. Because I mean, it's time to connect. It's merge. It's already happening.
I mean, I had tried in the beginning to reach out to people here, but I think my numbers weren't there, blah, blah, blah. So I got turned down. So I just, all right. I'm just going to stick with the English right now.
Yeah.
But I've always wanted to be like, I want to just be able to go into the Vietnamese here in Vietnam and in Denmark or Germany. Yeah. I just want to, anywhere there's Vietnamese footprints, I want to be able to do that. But Chris, I want to do it not just for me, but I want 20 other guys like me to cover. Here's why. If there's a film that comes out, I want to be able to tell all my buddies or tell the filmmaker, the director, and go, hey, run it through Chris's circuit, Jenny Chang Lei.
Oh, yeah.
Right? Run it through everybody, all the 20 podcasters that we have in the world. So you can uplift the creativity. You can uplift the actual products that we're doing.
I was just talking about that with Andy, our friend Andy Kung, who has also been on this podcast, about how when he got invited to kind of like I forgot how he described it, but almost like a guild or like a small circle of, just people in the industry. And he said that like people in different countries kind of have their own circle. Like you got to be somebody, you got to be in the in crowd to have access to that. And I'm like, now that you say that, I'm just imagining like how many of those exist within just even the Vietnamese communities.
Absolutely.
Like the Vietnamese Germans, the Vietnamese French, the Australians, like, how many pockets are not connecting right now? And in order to like, just create all those bridges, bring us all together and share ideas and experiences.
And the crazy thing is like the in crowd, or what Andy was just saying is like, I remember there being nothing, right? There's just a bunch of Vietnamese filmmakers like in the 90s. And then slowly there's like a pocket of like senior film directors, right? And they become their own clique. And then you see the next generation, 2-3 more generations have their own clique.
Yeah.
And then you start seeing like editors have their own clique, writers have their own cliques. Podcasters are nowhere to be found.
Right.
So you need to like encourage, and I want to encourage everybody out there too, that we need more podcasters, because we'll never have enough. You can never amplify the Vietnamese voice ever enough.
Yeah.
We got to blow this up just like the Koreans, right? I mean, how many Korean podcasters in LA and Koreatown? You have Dumbfounded, you have Bobby Lee, you have all these guys.
Yep.
And meanwhile, we don't have
don't have them. Yeah, it blows me away. I mean, I hear about people saying like, there's so many podcasts, and I'm like, wait a minute. With Vietnamese folks, I don't know that many. I can name you, and like, there's a few folks here in Vietnam that are like, out doing interviews, things like that. Peter broke the habit.
Yeah,
he talks to a lot of folks who are living here. But just in terms of like, who's trying to reach out to like the larger Vietnamese community to get all those stories, like not a lot, man.
I guarantee you this, Chris. If you and I don't stop, there will be 20 or 30 more podcasters in the next 5 years. And our voices will be so much more amplified.
I hope so.
I promise you. If you don't stop, you can't stop. I just try to really reiterate to all my friends in the content creation space like us, like little Saigon, Chris Tran.
Yep.
Also Chris Tran.
Great guy.
Great guy.
Love him.
Yeah. Julie, my Tran from Share My Roots.
Yeah, Share My Roots.
Dana. from Los Angeles, for everybody. We all cannot stop. We have to keep creating. And then we have to foster and mentor more young people.
Yeah.
Like my man here.
Behind the camera right here.
Behind the camera.
Yeah, the next generation, like, you know, here in Vietnam, overseas, wherever
all
that might
of
be.
It. We're here for all of it. All of it. Anything Vietnamese blood, anything Vietnamese related, we should be always talking about it till we're like blue in the face.
Yeah. And if you're not talking about it, like, support your Vietnamese creators.
Yeah.
You know, like, you know, it is so important, the work that's being done to capture those stories and you know, it like I said earlier, it's an archive. You know, these are so precious, and especially right now, we're kind of at a crossroads, I think, as a Vietnamese global family, because we all went through this very traumatic event together, and it kind of like, you know, changed all our lives, literally like created a lot of the communities overseas, right? And this trajectory for so many people. And we're all sort of, you know, having our parents who went through the war directly age at around the same time. We're healing. There's like the millennial healing generation that's happening. These big conversations are happening with older generation folks. A lot of things are happening like across the board, right? That Vietnamese people are experiencing, you know? So like there's so much to share and connect with.
You know, it's a really good time to be Vietnamese. It really is. I mean, not only in Vietnam, obviously, because you walk around Vietnam, it's awesome. But you go to the U.S. and it's just awesome time to be Vietnamese. It's always a good time to be Vietnamese.
Is it because Pho's trending right now, or like
Vietnamese trending?
What makes you think it's a good time to be Vietnamese?
Because there's nothing there yet. Nothing is. It's a fresh canvas.
It's fresh.
It's a fresh canvas, and we have the tools for storytelling and creating narratives. So that's why it's such a good time to be Vietnamese, because we can now create what we should be creating.
Can I ask you though, like, it surprises me. Why hasn't it happened?
There's a lot of reasons why. I'll give you some basic ones. I think Korea found that in order to sell LG, Samsung, Kias, Hyundai, in order to sell all that stuff, you need the entertainment side to push it. Because if you have TVs and you need to sell radios and you need to sell laptops and stuff like that, the government somehow figured early on that in order to sell the hardware, you got to put the software, the visuals, the music,
the marketing.
Yeah. So they poured millions upon millions of money into their entertainment industry.
Right.
So they had this like very intentional approach to building the entertainment industry so they can sell hardware, right?
It's branding.
Genius.
Yeah, you're right.
Genius. I think that the reason why they were able to push it too was they were coming up at the perfect time. Boy bands in America, you know, Britney Spears and
they rode that wave.
Backstreet Boys. It really created this sort of like, Korea was like, we could do that. And then I think they really worked on the K-pop structure of their music. But if you think about Thailand's government puts money into Thai restaurants in the US.
Yeah, I heard about that. You get basically like subsidized restaurant funding, basically.
Yeah, brilliant strategy. And I think Vietnam eventually will wake up to this too. Unless they go the route of Singapore. Singapore, like, you know, they built their internal...
They're focusing on other things.
Yeah, they're focusing on their own country. And they built this, like, really, like, you know, no corruption. They built this, like, wonderful society.
Yeah.
But they didn't really branch out to really focus on entertainment. And it was all about money, I think, for Singapore.
Okay. So do you see, like, that happening for Vietnam in the future, where we get some kind of, like, you know, boost from... larger Vietnamese organizations or even the government?
I think it might happen. It might not happen in the way Korea did it, but I think they'll turn it around once they get their firm foot established with like getting all the factories. Once you get production really solidified here, I think that now, all right, we're not starving. We've lifted the middle. We've lifted poverty to the middle class, right?
Yeah.
So now let's focus on entertainment. I think that has to happen first. We got to clean it up. We got to like get the communities and society like up to par, and then we'll start dumping millions into entertainment.
I see it happening. I see it happening without that big government backing already.
Wow.
you know, because like Vietnamese b-boys, b-girls, you know, like the hip hop scene here is really big. I've seen hip hop change and innovate over the last 20 years here in Vietnam, where, you know, in the beginning it was like, okay, this is interesting. They're like kind of experimenting with hip hop, you know, and like, you know, this is kind of my bias, but in the beginning, I didn't feel like Vietnamese lent itself to, you know, rapping very well. You know, I couldn't take it seriously. You know, it was like fun, like internet stuff that you would download and say, oh, cool, this is Vietnamese, but it didn't sound great compared to what was coming out of the US or even Korea. But now the production is great, man. I'm like in a cafe and I'm just like, is this Vietnamese? Like it is so quality, you know, like they've smoothed out like, you know, their lyrics, and like, you know, just the production value is just amazing.
I just learned something about music. It refers to what you're talking about. It's so crazy. Okay, so you heard of Nhạc Vang, right? Like the golden era
Nhạc
of
Vang,
like our parents' generation,
right?
pre 75.
Yeah.
So the writers like Phạm Duy and Trần Công Sơn and Văn Cao, right? Those guys were the masters. I can't remember the name. It's something. But the idea of, you know, we're a tonal language. So when you are climbing a melody, then you have to like match the word to yosak or something, right?
Okay.
When it's coming down, yohuing, right?
Oh, interesting.
I did not ever thought. I never thought
that
about
makes it
this.
so much more complicated.
It makes it so. It's like 4D chess, right?
Yeah,
I never thought of it. There's an actual word because I'm good friends with this musician Nam, and he explained it to me. There's an actual word yida, and in order for that music to really resonate back then, those guys had to sit and painstakingly figure out the tonal movements of the thing. And so when the rap phenomenon just came on the scene here, I'm guessing that the real masters hadn't come out yet. And the guys who were just like, wait, this doesn't sound right. This doesn't sound right. Then the guys like Benzi or whoever the big guys was like, okay, let me play with the tonal and put it into right position so that it could flow. And I think over the years, that flow got like really well dialed in. Maybe even AI helped out too. Who knows?
Oh, interesting.
So now what I'm hearing now is like, oh shit, this stuff is banging.
Finally fit it together.
Because in the beginning, when you listen to early rap, it's like you know,
Kan Yaw and like stuff you download on the internet back in the day, which was fun. It was cool, but it's rough.
But now when you listen to Benzi, you're like, man, he got it clean. And the reason it flows is because of that idea of matching tones to the ups and downs of the music.
Wow, what a feat to like do that. I never even thought about that.
Neither did I.
It's just like having like just these puzzle pieces that you have to work with to make like a song. And they're killing it.
It's amazing.
Yeah, so then that's what I mean by like I see this like big creative force that's happening already. So I'm really optimistic about, you know, the future for Vietnamese pop culture. You know, I mean, Vietnamese food, we've seen it trend, you know, just within our lifetime. And I'm excited for what's next. I think a lot of big things are coming.
And I'm gonna, you know, shameless plug, you know, I'm sponsored by VinFast. I think whatever they're doing, whether the car breaks down, whether the display goes out, who knows, right? What kind of reviews? But you bring any car company into the US, is a major market, massive market, right? You're going to get 10 years, first 10 years of like sloppy, you know, it's new car, right? VinFast is doing a great job. They're responding. They're doing all these wonderful things in the US to, like, you know, prop their cars up. Forget about the economics of this, or forget about like if they're going to make it or not. I don't care about that. But one thing I do know is, are there other car companies from all these other smaller or bigger countries? Is there an Indian car company in the US?
Yeah, we're not seeing them.
Is there other like big car companies that are even, so just the idea of having a Vietnamese car company in the US right now, we should all be proud and not be such big haters, you know?
A lot of haters out there.
A lot of haters. Like, why?
You know? It is quite the accomplishment. And I was kind of surprised. I saw a VinFast when I was in LA. I mean, like, because I'm not there that often. I was actually in LA for just barely a week. And then a couple of days in, I was like, this is a VinFast on the 405. I mean, you're out there. Are there a lot of VinFast now?
I'll see one once a week.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, once a week I'll see one, or once every 2 weeks I'll see it.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm very proud to see a V on the back of a car. Who can complain? That's like free, that's like free branding for the Vietnamese people in
psychological
America.
Boost.
Yeah.
And
all the old people, they're always fighting us and be like, it's from Vietnam. And I'm Vietnamese. I want the Vietnamese brand to be potent everywhere we go.
Yeah, rooting for
because it's only good for all the Vietnamese. It's good for us.
Yeah.
No matter how you look at it.
Yeah.
If it's Vietnamese branded, it's going to be good for us.
Yeah.
If we prop up our own brand and we believe in our own branding, it's going to be good.
Yeah. I am involved with the kind of the Facebook group here called Saigon Vicky. I don't know if you're familiar, but they've been awesome. Big shout out to John Vu, who's one of the organizers, a good friend of mine. And, they have a monthly event where he tells me that, there's more and more of us coming here every month and new people, right? Just like so much interest now. And, people feel like Vietnam is on the up and up.
Yeah.
Right. How do you feel about that?
All right. I'm going to answer. I knew you were going to bring this up. I want to answer it in, I want two different modules to explain it.
Yeah.
The first one is not controversial. The second one will be controversial with mass deportations and, the people that are being deported, not voluntarily, right?
Yeah.
Involuntarily.
Yeah.
So I'll get to that, but I'm not going to cross any lines or give away any names, or it'll be PG. So this idea of Vietnamese coming here is, the idea of like Vietnam as a country on the up and up, right?
Mm-hmm.
And all these people moving here, right? My family moved here. My brother moved here 22, 21 years ago.
Yeah.
I have many, many friends who did that. So for me, that's the inevitable cycle of Vietnamese people, right? It's inevitable that we're going to come back, and not everybody, obviously, but a lot of us will be coming back.
Yeah.
This is our homeland. But let's not be quick to forget the United States as my home.
Mm-hmm.
I love the US and I love Vietnam. I can do both.
Yeah.
And I can also criticize both. Maybe not Vietnam, but
yeah, a little more careful with that one.
Obviously, yeah.
But be a little more careful with the U.S. now too.
Exactly.
I mean, we used to think that was something that you could easily do, but that changed.
Yeah. I could love both places.
Yeah.
Because in another podcast, I got like my butt handed to me because it was a Vietnamese podcast with Sean Lay, and I was at Vietnam Dawa.
I saw that. Yeah.
And the thumbnail was Vietnam, whatever. He says Vietnam Dawa, right? And 3,000 comments. Get out of here. Get out of the US then.
I didn't think anything of it because I share those sentiments. Obviously I live here now, and then I was just like casually popping in the comments. I was like, whoa, they're ripping Ken to pieces in here. Yeah, this is obviously our parents' generation folks, right?
But I celebrate that. I'm like, all right, but then I got a lot of followers from Vietnam, so can't win it all. Can't win them all.
Yeah, especially when it's so polarized.
Yeah, it's so polarized, and I do have love and respect for the people that had things to say about me.
That's for me, like the evolution of kind of understanding all of this, I had these phases where I was just a kid, ignorant, I guess, just kind of going off of what my parents told me. And that's just how I understood the relationship between my family, Vietnam, what Vietnam meant. And then being a college student, right, reading books about it. That was kind of the next stage. And not realizing until later that, even the books are kind of biased, especially if they're from, American scholars, they have their motive when they're doing their research, they have their bias as well. And then coming to Vietnam, that was the next stage. And then just even after that, it took more than a decade for it to sink in. At first I was very bright eyed. I was like, man, so many things were kept from me. Vietnam is amazing, then all this stuff, right? And then I guess, just meeting more and more people, and then just realizing there's good and there's bad, and every group, and finally I'm just living in the gray, you know, and being in that gray, I could respect my parents, what they went through. I can respect Vietnam and what, you know, so many people went through here, you know, fighting against like American imperialism and like, you know, everyone who had their um,
Yeah,
motivations, you know, I can respect and hold space for all of that now, you
exactly.
know, and just kind of listen and you know, hold, you know, two truths at the same time and like two
Hmm.
non-truths at the same time, like all of that, right? And I feel like you're kind of there too, and for sure because you've spoken to so many people, right? And like so many experts, right?
Yeah, and then what you start to realize with these like I've recorded over 450 episodes. What I what I've been seeing the common pattern is that history um, is rewritten by, you know, they say the victors, and history is written by people that you are close to, right? Our mom and
Mm,
dad.
yeah,
So it's like, how reliable is history for everybody? It can't be. There's no
it's
way to be.
personal,
It's
yeah, and it's
personal.
emotional.
It's emotional. When I think about this, when I think about the thumbnail and the title for this episode, I think about like, um, why didn't I move back earlier? That's my
Mm,
the
mm,
title. That's like the title of my life in the
yeah,
last year. Like,
yeah,
why didn't I move to Vietnam when I had a chance?
yeah.
Uh, I do regret not moving years ago. You know, obviously I have two kids now and my mom, and I have to stay in in LA, but I really do wish that I moved back to LA, Vietnam, years ago with my
Mm,
brother. Now,
yeah.
the reason I bring that up is because I want to get to the touchier, the deportation stuff.
Mm,
I find that being a person of color in the US today is a tricky thing
mm,
because I think that the process of deporting people of color, the way that it's being handled,
yeah,
because you know Obama would deport a lot of people,
yeah.
right?
That's
He
right.
he deported so many, but you never heard about it.
Right.
You never heard of the inhumane conditions that they're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
But now it's like rampant,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Um, so there are people in America that are being deported to Vietnam right now.
Right.
So I think going back to the question that you had asked me about like these people coming back, I I sit with these people and pray that like wherever I'm coming from is not a place of privilege of what I'm telling the people who are like formerly incarcerated, don't have citizenship, US citizenship, but I want them to know that Vietnam is a good place to restart your life.
Yeah. Yeah. And I myself have met deportees
Yeah.
here as well. And I had to say that it felt uncomfortable because I didn't know how to speak to them
Yeah.
and I didn't know how they would feel about me, you know, because they I am in a place of privilege. You know, I chose to come here. I had the free choice to do it,
And you
you
can
know,
leave whenever you want.
and I can leave whenever I want, you know, and they've been just, you know, abruptly taken
Yeah.
and just ripped away, you
Snatched.
know, and like a lot of them have family and businesses and a whole life and like, you know, they didn't choose to have this happen to them. And then a part of me did feel like, man, like I chose to come here because I like it here. You know, like I like the life here and I root for Vietnam and I want to be a part of Vietnam. And I'll just straight out say it, man, more than being a part of the US right now.
Yeah.
Like I don't have any guilt saying that because it's very personal for me. I don't have anything against folks who choose to stay in the US. I just chose to be here because I feel more at home here. And that's kind of what I wanted to, you know, kind of share to, you know, these brothers that have been,
Yeah.
you know,
Snatched
deported
away.
here,
Yeah.
snatched away here. You know, like, hey man, it's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
But I can't.
How
I
can
don't
you?
know their
Yeah.
situation. I
And that's
can't do
very
that. That's not
smart.
right. That's not right to do that.
That's you have a lot of EQ to like hold back because
Yeah, yeah,
they're gonna be like, whoa,
yeah.
you can go in and out. You're not in the same
Yeah,
conditions that
not
we
the
are.
same, not the same, not even close, right? But I was kind of holding on to this like you know, almost like a sense of hope
Yeah.
for them. Like, you know, like I feel like, you know, I you're gonna be okay, you know, and like for me, that's something that I could even help out with.
Yeah.
It's just to be there to support and just encourage folks that, you know, like you could have a good life here.
Look, I'm going to just be very divisive right now. And here's what I
Right.
mean. Be very divisive. I think that there is I'm just going to be very binary and black and white about this topic. There are people in the Vietnamese community in America who have and don't want to have the haves, whatever they have, to be disrupted.
Mm.
And then there's people who have, but don't mind the disruption. They have a lot and they don't mind things being disrupted and they don't mind helping. So the two camps of the Vietnamese American community, I'm just going to call it binary for now. Like you either love people who are having a hard time with their immigration status or you don't.
Yeah.
You don't, you know, it's either you're going to help people.
Yeah.
And if you can listen, like you and I, we've had the privilege to sit with these brothers and hear their stories that they're being ripped, their families are being ripped apart. And a lot of people are like, well, they did a crime. Well, they also did their time.
Yeah.
And they're caught in this political like shitstorm.
Yeah.
You know, which is really sad.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why are we trying to help? Why are we trying to like ease their pain? Why? We have, you have, I have, we're part of the people that have.
Yeah.
So I think the camps are either you have things and you're just like, let's close the door and throw the key out.
Yeah.
Or guys like us, we're like, no, man, that's not
how we do
just
this.
not how we do this, man.
Yeah. It just
It's
doesn't
two camps.
feel right.
It doesn't feel right.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel right. Not as an American or a Vietnamese person. It just doesn't feel right as a human being. To like treat human beings this way.
Man, and I feel, in my point of view, like there's still a lot of things that really push us down and that we have to fight against it. And then in that fight, we need to take care of each other. And that's how I feel like connected to these brothers and sisters that are getting deported. These are the victims of that system, and I need to protect them. I need to protect my own. Whereas like, if I didn't feel that way, if I felt like America is, you know, a blessing to me, and like, you know, I gotta like, you know, do everything I can to be thankful and grateful, and these guys are actually guys that like are the opposite. You know, they're not thankful. They became criminals. They didn't do it the right way. You know, like they're messing it up for the rest of us. I wouldn't feel sympathetic to them. I would rather, I hate to say it, man, suck up to America. That's, I don't know. I mean, to me, that's kind of the distinction as well.
What's going on. Majority of our Vietnamese American counterparts are sucking up to America, sucking up to like our white friends, you know. I've been to South Carolina and North Carolina and I have a lot of family in those two states. I don't know why. But I'll be going out and then their significant others are like white guys dating or marrying Vietnamese women. And they'll crack jokes that are like ching chong chong equivalents, right?
Yeah.
And it boggles my mind that these people are laughing. These Vietnamese women are laughing with their white guys because they want to be part of it. And they don't want to create like this awkward
They want
feeling.
to throw a fit or like make it weird for white folks, like make white folks uncomfortable. Or not even like, we shouldn't even say white folks. Like, you know, it's like America is so racial. You know, I've had plenty of like, you know, Hispanic and black folks make fun of me as kids too, you know, and that unfortunately was part of like how, you know, I ended up feeling not at home in the US because, and even now I feel shame, man. I feel like a cop out, you know, because, you know, we are told like all people of color need to, you know, band together because, you know, when one of us loses, we all lose. You know, but then it's like, how do you deal with like the racism and the you know, being called ching chong from people of color as well? You know, it really kind of eats at you.
Yeah.
And
then, I think the most efficient way is not to deal with it and then build your new life in the country of your homeland.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you can arguably do a lot of damage from Vietnam. You know, you can do a lot of good work from Vietnam instead of like waiting for opportunity in America.
Yeah.
It's a real struggle.
It is, man. And I have to say, like, I have so much respect and praise for my friends who are Vietnamese and actually choose to be in the US to quote unquote like fight the fight. You know, they don't want to give up on that.
Yeah.
You know, they have their community, they have their people there, you know, big coalition of like, you know, community members, and like they had the right people to kind of mentor them, and they want to be part of that struggle. Right. And I absolutely respect that, you know? So like, that's why for me, I feel like this is just my personal journey. I found that fulfillment here, my people here, my community here. And that's why, like, you know, that's why I'm here, you know, committed to like Vietnam's future. Cause I feel like I do have a lot of things I can contribute here.
I think Vietnam's future is looking really bright, especially like when you think about, look, I don't live here, but when I read and when I hear other Vietnamese Americans talk about Tô Lâm, it's all good. It's great. And what I mean by that is the corruption has been really
big changes happening.
Big changes.
Yeah.
Big change. And you can feel it. It's like palpable here.
Yeah.
You know, there's no more of this like, you know, scooters, motorbikes running up on sidewalks anymore. People aren't running reds, you know. I feel like I'm in a real metropolitan city in Saigon here.
Massive changes in 2025.
Massive. You could feel it. It's like, for anybody who has not been back to Vietnam, I encourage you to come to Vietnam and visit. You can call Chris Tran. His number is it. How amazing is that Vietnam is developing, and now we can actually go back and like learn about Vietnam some more.
So many changes, man. Like just in terms of laws, like you mentioned, the traffic laws, like in the beginning, watching it happen, it's so many people complaining. It's like creating more traffic because people can't go on the sidewalk anymore. And then now it's like, you know, I meet a lot of locals who are like so grateful because, you know, it's obviously less accidents. It's like more, you know, it just makes more sense now, you know. And then also the number of they're coming out with more restrictions on alcohol. The uncles in this alley, bless them, they're amazing guys. It was, you know, they drink a lot. Like, and it was really surprising when I drank with them a couple times. Dude, right at 10 o'clock, boom, music turned off because they get complaints from the neighbors. Done. You know, my family in the States don't even do that, you know? Yeah. They're still going hard into the late hours. But here, like, it's like, hey, 10 o'clock is like, you know, quiet time. We need to shut off this speaker, you know? And then the number of provinces. Like, I'm sure you've heard about that, right? Cut in half, man. Like, you know, just to fight corruption, cut the bureaucracy, you know, so many changes. And then
the citizenship stuff, the encouraging citizens to sign foreign nationals with Vietnamese heritage to come back and
making it a lot easier.
Make it a lot easier. Like, these are all good signs of development.
And then one thing too, man, that I don't have a lot of evidence for, but I feel it just from reading Vietnamese media and talking to folks. The government is shifting, I think, how, you know, it welcomes the diaspora folks back. Totally. You know, I've seen some language that is like moving towards, and this is a big word, reconciliation.
Absolutely.
Big word, right? And I've heard things like from government officials. I'm like, wow, that is like an olive branch, you know? This can get really controversial, but you know, I'm seeing, you know, a movement towards that, you know, very different from what's happening with online netizens and Vietnamese folks where like Cali is like a derogatory term now, right? That didn't happen before, man. Like, so,
Cali,
you know,
is the equivalent of douchebaggery.
Yeah.
Douchebags.
Cali used to be just be like, where are you from? Cali, you know?
It used to be so head high. Man, now you're like, you put your head down. I'm from Alaska, you know? Like,
I'm just going to say Los Angeles. You know? Like, they're like, where's that? Like, don't worry about it.
I'm from Alhambra.
So interesting, man, because like that's never happened before where I said, hey, I'm from Cali. Like, no one cared. That's like, okay, Cali. Oh, I have an uncle there. I have a cousin there. Yeah. Now it's like people kind of giggle a little bit. It's like, oh, you're one of those, Cali. Exactly. You know, and I was like, whoa, what's going on? But very different from, I think, what the government's messaging is. So that's, I don't know, really interesting.
You know, I hear a lot of friends in high places talk about Tô Lâm, and when he addresses the public, he's very mindful of how he addresses the Vietnamese diaspora. You know, in the 50th year commemoration, that they just did in April 30, if you analyze the speech, it's like very tender, welcoming everybody to come home.
Mm-hmm.
God damn it, this is our home.
Yeah, I've read that actually. Yeah, I've read that
This is
speech.
our home, and we are being welcomed
Yeah.
back. And I get it. I get the parents that we all grew up with. I get the kind of wartime pain and the wartime loss and the wartime deceit, the wartime games that they had to experience.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that we all did it to each other. You know?
Yeah.
But it's almost like, imagine if you grew up with an abusive dad who was like a total alcoholic and drug abuser, right? And you grew up in that house. And then you ran away at 18. And then your dad, you haven't seen him in many years, and you bring your son back to see your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And your son is now saying, Dad's not so bad. Dad,
Yeah.
what?
Because Dad got Starbucks now and McDonald's and
Exactly.
a Metro. And like,
Dad's like super chill now, right?
It's not the same.
It's not the same.
It's
It's
not
a
the same.
totally different dad. It's a totally different human being because of, dad might have been this, whatever that dad was, right?
Yeah.
That identity, that we as sons, we looked at dad and we're like, oh, dad was like, he's a different guy. But we bring our kids by now and our kids are like, wait, that's not the same man that you're talking about.
Yeah. It's good.
And that's how I see Vietnam today. Yes, dad might have been that guy back in the day who was like a wild and out.
Yeah.
But that's not dad today. Dad today is like, he's got the traits of it or whatever. And when he needs to use it, he might use it on you.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he wants peace.
Yeah.
He wants love. He wants us to come home to him,
Yeah.
And meanwhile, mom's in the U.S. The U.S. is mom. Or you could, flip it around,
So complicated.
Yeah,
yeah.
complicated.
I want to live with Dad.
It's super complicated.
That's cool.
My analogy in the last few years have been like your uncle. That your uncle was like the abusive guy. You're like, I'm not going to our uncle's house because that he's out of control.
Yeah.
But when we go to uncle's house, we have to respect that that's uncle's house. He does things a certain way. You just don't go in somebody's house and shit all over the way they do business.
Right. Yeah.
But as the years have gone by, uncle has actually been like, hey, you guys from America, come home to uncle's house and hang out. I'm changing a lot of the ways that I am. I'm recognizing how I view you guys, and I want to be different. I want you guys to come and visit me more.
Yeah.
That's kind of like the new vibe that I'm getting from the Vietnamese government,
Yeah. No, yeah, I totally feel that. They're courting like, talented Vietnamese folks.
And ain't nobody perfect.
Yeah.
The US government's not perfect. The Vietnamese government it's all human beings running these entities, right?
Mm-hmm.
But as we're like living in it, why don't we try to make it better too? By letting everybody know, come back. There's always this big contingency of Vietnamese Americans here. The more of us there are here, the more, they might make things better for Vietnamese Americans to come home. So there's strength in numbers too.
Yeah, absolutely.
When I look at your trajectory and the work that you do, I'm wondering constantly, like, where's this going to lead?
Mm-hmm.
Because I want to follow.
Yeah.
And so I'm curious. I'm like, is there a working model here? How can I be a part of the whole content creation space? Like, can you share that with me?
Yeah. Oh my God. I'm gonna out myself here, but like, I don't have plans, man. Like, I need to sit down and think about like, what is my 5-year plan here? So much has been organic. I'm a teacher, man. I've always worked at a school, got a paycheck. I do my lesson plans. Came here to Vietnam 2 years ago now. It's about to be 2 years in a few weeks. And made a reel. Hey everyone, I'm here in Vietnam. I'm here for the food, and I love it here. Boom, went viral, and then picked up, and then just along that, just growth. Some folks were like, "Hey, I'm following this guy because he speaks some Vietnamese, and I'm kind of learning Vietnamese. Cool, let's talk about Vietnamese language, right? That's my background as well. And then I started something that I feel like gives a lot of value to folks in the diaspora. It's always like coming from like what I felt I wish I had, and then, language classes, like such an important tool to connect to not just our relatives, but Vietnam. It just changes the whole experience when you can talk to people here, like without a doubt. Doesn't mean that Vietnamese folks are here shaming anyone that can't speak Vietnamese, but like it does so much. And then, as that grew, it started to feel more like a community. Like I'm so grateful for this following on social media that we've been able to mobilize for donations. When the Typhoon Yagi happened last year, we raised, along with other creators that also helped out too, $65,000 to help Yagi storm victims in the north. And then I went out there myself just to show people what's going on the ground and like this is where the money's going. I went out with like busloads of doctors, mobile clinics way up in the mountains where like entire villages got wiped out by mudslides, things like that. And when I landed here in Vietnam, I was going to teach. I never thought that after, a few months, a year, that I would be doing that. And I feel so much incredible purpose. And I'm so grateful for the community. And my content's like all over the place. I'm doing just like stuff that, makes people laugh or, makes people think. Now I'm doing history content, it's everything. And that's probably the one thing that as it was building, I'm happy that I did.
Yeah.
I knew that like, okay, cool. In the beginning, skits were funny. I don't want to keep doing skits forever. I don't want to be like putting on a wig, doing uncle characters, like I could do that. It's fun, but I have so much more I want to talk about. And yeah, I want to do that too. And then, make it funny. Like I was able to do something where I could make, I could talk about anything, like kind of hit on all emotions, laughter, sadness, anger, whatever that is, And so right now I've just been starting to think about like, how do I keep that going? And I think that I just can't do it by myself. So I have this amazing team now. We have, our cameraman right behind the camera right now, like Wung, this incredible team of young Vietnamese folks here who are, helping me keep all of these things going, these Vietnamese lessons and the heritage tour that just happened with their culture, with, Dowd, and the incredible work they're doing over there. And whatever happens in the future, man, like, I think that this is, like you said earlier, it's an amazing time to be Vietnamese. I don't know what is like the next brushstroke that I'm going to do on this canvas right now.
Yeah.
I'm just looking at it like, ooh, where can we go?
When I was growing up, I had always looked at, I would travel in the military or as a business person in my early years. I would go to the airport and I would just see people, like, especially like American military men, they walk with their heads held so high, especially like sports teams, like traveling soccer teams. And then the Koreans came. And then I noticed when I traveled, you see Korean men, they walk with their heads so high and just proud to be. And I thought about that. I'm like, I want to make Vietnamese men and women feel so proud when they leave an airport at Amsterdam, or Germany, or Bolivia, or Thailand. When they walk out of the airport, they're like, that's right. Cái mặt của người Việt Nam. We are awesome. Right?
Yeah.
Not number one. We don't need to be number one. We just need to know that we are cool. We are in the sort of like the phase and the stage of our country, history, the history of Vietnam, as a beautiful time.
Yeah.
Right. And so the product of that is like young men and women going to airports around the world, feeling this sense of pride. And I want that. That's what I feel like our job is, to really proliferate that message and to find more people like us to constantly do. So that when Nguyen is at the airport, he feels a sense of pride of being coming from Vietnam, because it's a beautiful a culture, and it's a beautiful place, and it's a beautiful place where human beings are growing up and becoming amazing. We didn't have that growing up.
We didn't have that. And I was just going to say that it's like a lot more work to do for, I think, folks in the diaspora, because having done the content that I do recently with history, culture, language, a lot of it just wasn't taught, and I think that most Vietnamese folks here don't have a problem with loving Vietnamese culture. I'd say like 9 out of 10 Vietnamese folks here, young people here, even like they might hate history class, and most do. As a history teacher, it doesn't surprise me when I talk to people. They're like, I didn't like history class. That's okay. But they're proud, man. Yeah. Vietnamese folks here, young Vietnamese people are proud to be Vietnamese. The amount of kids in the street when they win a football match and like all that, like
all the flags,
you talk to them, they're so proud. They will so easily defend Vietnamese people culture here. In the diaspora, it gets a little more complicated.
We're trying to be white,
and also
being white.
But yes, and then also just the fact that like we just didn't have access. Like so many people like, man, I didn't know that about my history.
Yeah,
Vietnamese history, because it wasn't taught. If your parents didn't have the time or the knowledge to sit you down and talk to you about it, like you didn't know. There was no connection. We got disconnected.
And when you go back to like the history of music in America, Paris by Night, right? The Vietnamese music we're hearing it and we're like, God, this is so boring. But if you understand the tonal problems that songwriting, the context of it, you're like, oh my God,
appreciation.
This is so beautiful.
Yeah.
You appreciate like the meaning and the melodies that these composers had to really put effort in. And you're like, oh, okay, that's why there's not like jazz, there's not rap, there's not all these other music for me. Because I used to complain about that. I'm like, Vietnamese music is so boring. But now I get it. We have to have like this appreciation for all things that are coming up in the Vietnamese culture.
Yeah. It's a good time to be Vietnamese.
Yeah, good time to be Vietnamese. Thank you for having me on today, man.
Love it, man.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, bro. I appreciate you so much, man.
Appreciate you too, man.
All right. Yeah, guys. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe.